And when we're not hustling, we believe that seeing sex workers as full people outside of our work is an essential step toward humanizing and destigmatizing the industry and those who work within it. Help us to bring you the stories of the people behind the fantasies. When We're Not Hustling is a 501c3 fiscally sponsored nonprofit project of the Social Good Fund. Thank you for considering a tax-deductible recurring contribution. All contributions will be received through our fiscal sponsor, the Social Good Fund. You can contribute at nothustling.com.
Put away the lingerie. I wanna know you. Tell me more. I don't care about the hear about you and see the world from your point of view. The coffee's already made, so I'll part the shades, just pull up a chair and tell me more.
Welcome to When We're Not Hustling, a podcast where sex workers talk about everything but. I'm your host, Jessie Sage. When We're Not Hustling is a weekly podcast that explores the lives and identities of sex workers outside of our work personas, our personal philosophies, ambitions, families, relationships, passions, spirituality, and so much more. We talk about our lives beyond the job, asking, what does the flexibility of sex work allow us to do, and who does it allow us to be? On our show, we learn who sex workers are outside of the work we're known for. When We're Not Hustling is an exploration of the people behind the fantasies. When We're Not Hustling is brought to you by Assembly 4. Assembly 4 is a collective of sex workers and technologists working to bring the overall cost of sex work down through their advertising platform Tryst.link. They also educate clients through the Good Client Guide and provide resources and articles written by and for sex workers. Assembly 4 caters to all genders and demographics and raises funds to fight for sex worker rights and against exploitation in the industry. Learn more about Assembly 4 at assemblyfour.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of When We're Not Hustling. I'm your producer, Emily Foster, filling in for Jessie Sage. Jessie is currently working on her contribution to I Hate My Job. It's a new compilation of essays from current and former sex workers exploring the intersections of labor, sex work, and capitalism. This great new compilation is the newest work from Working Girls Press. It's being edited by Adri Rose and fully funded through the Kickstarter that just finished this January. It will be released this November, so look forward to that and some exciting book launch events. Jessie is also working on her own book, and we'll share more about that as the story unfolds. As always, Jessie is hustling even when she's not hustling. This month, we have another incredibly fun crossover episode with Tryst.com, which means we have another amazing giveaway to accompany it. For the next 2 weeks, we'll be taking entries, and one lucky listener will receive a custom leather harness made just for them by our guest, Mia. To enter, follow us on socials. That's at Not Hustling Pod on X, Insta, or Blue Sky. For additional entries, share your favorite episode on any of the platforms and tag us. This week's interview is with Ruby Peepshow, a Canadian sex workers advocate and burlesque dancer who talks about bringing her dream of a mobile peep show to life. Their conversation covers working for a nonprofit, the importance of community care, and how simply profound a difference that can make, burlesque dancing, the sex industry, and the fabled mobile peep show. And Ruby has a special treat for us at the end, a spoken word piece that's both sassy and meaningful. By way of introduction, Ruby is a bimbo with multiple personalities, an innovative visionary who has owned her own entertainment company for over 15 years. Ruby Entertainments fearlessly recreates the ritual of bachelor party culture by combining sex positivity with consent through a playful platform of dance, connection, and touch. Notably, she was granted a moderate sum from the BC government to build the world's first contemporary mobile peep show. Ruby's pop-up peep show came to life in 2023. With a BA in gender studies, she is the perfect mix of tits, wits, and glitz. As Ginger Kitten, she is a burlesque dancer in the award-winning troupe, the Cheesecake Burlesque Review, and she is also an accomplished poet and playwright. Without further ado, let's get right to this titillating conversation.
Hi, Ruby. It is really nice to have you with us today.
Thank you. I'm really grateful to be here.
Yeah. How have you been doing?
I'm good. My name is Ruby. I work at a nonprofit here in Victoria, BC. I'm calling in from Lekwungen territory, and just gratefully acknowledge the Songhees and Esquimalt nations on whose territory we do our work. And the organization that I work for, it's called Peers Victoria Resources Society, and we've been supporting sex workers since 1995. Not me personally, though.
How long have you been working for them?
It's been over 10 years.
Wow. So what does Peers do?
First, I just want to apologize. My voice is a bit off because we did the Red Umbrella March and rally yesterday, and then I was emceeing and also leading the chant, so my voice is really shot.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, let's talk about that for a second, because most of the people that listen to our show are sex workers, but for the ones that are trying to learn about sex work, December 17th is our International Day to End Violence Against Sex Workers, and it's celebrated in cities all across the world. What did you guys do yesterday?
Yeah, so we live in a provincial capital. So we met at the Parliament buildings with our red umbrellas. It was awful weather, but it usually is, and that's the reality.
Yeah,
that's the reality of trying to end violence against sex workers. Like, we are marching in the rain.
Yeah, that's an apt metaphor, huh?
Right. So yeah, we met up at the Parliament. We had some Indigenous welcomes and openings, starting us in a good way, and then we marched through the streets to City Hall, which we rename for this event because we've done it in City Hall a couple times. We rename it Titty Hall.
Oh, I love it.
So we go into City Hall and into the antechamber there, and we had a couple of performances. We had a couple dancers do their thing for us. One of them was a sexy Santa. That was really fun.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, and then we had speakers. We had the lovely Susan Davis come over from Vancouver and speak about kind of the things that she'd remember from her long years of activism in the downtown east side of Vancouver, which is quite prolific because of really awful violence that's happened there. Yeah, and then I led us in the sex work anthem done to the tune of Jingle Bells, so that was fun. We'd keep it light and on a light note. And
so, what were the lyrics for the Jingle Bells that you did?
I can find it. It's pretty cute. Here it is. The lyrics are. Dashing through the streets with the night so dark and cold, facing fear and hate, our story should be told. We stand up for our rights. We demand to be heard. No more pain, no more shame. Our voices are the word. End the violence, stop the fight, make the world a safer place. We will stand and speak tonight in every time and place. End the violence, end the pain, let the justice ring. For sex workers everywhere, let freedom's chorus sing. It goes on. There's a whole bunch of...
Oh my gosh, that is so great. I did not expect to hear a sex worker anthem to Jingle Bells today, and you just made my day.
Yeah. Yes. And then it ends, the very last chorus is, rights for workers, rights for all, equality is near. Normal, bleh. No more silence. We will shout together. We will cheer. Hey, rights for workers, right for all, let freedom ring so loud. Sex work is real work, and we are so proud.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Who wrote that? Did one of you guys write that?
There's a little thing. There's a little tool called AI.
Oh, okay. Very cute, though.
Oh no, I was trying to do that on my own for a while, and then I was like, this is not a good use of my time right now. I have too much going on. So yeah,
I hear you. Yeah,
that's that.
Really neat though. So you guys sang that song, and you had some speakers and some performers.
We did the hey, ho, ho. Those sex work laws have got to go. All sorts of chants. Yeah, we had. It was really wonderful.
What was your turnout like?
Well, like I said, it was an awful day out there. So I think we had maybe 40 to 50 people. in the end.
That's great, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
How
so
nice.
to answer your question earlier, peers, we have been supporting sex workers since 1995. We started with a night outreach van that's still our longest running and, one of our most important programs. It's a van,
Mhm.
a RV that goes out to the stroll every night, 7 nights a week, connecting with people who work and live outside, with harm reduction supplies, clothes, hot chocolate, hot noodles, tampons, umbrellas,
Oh, amazing.
everything that you could want. And yeah, so that's how we began. But we have expanded over the years hugely. We have, and we have in the past had health programs. We have a housing department because the crisis is real. We have a drop-in center with
Wow.
like a free store. We have like a hot meal that people get to share together 3 or 4 days a week. Then we have specialized
Wow.
dinner groups for specific groups of sex workers. So we've got the indoor workers group that connects once a month with people who work inside, because of course it's probably like this where you guys are, but outdoor sex work only makes up like 10 to 15% of the population. But of course they're the most visible, but 85% is happening inside, and people are really isolated there. So we're really trying to connect with people who might not otherwise access our services, and really people who are currently working, because we serve people who are current or former sex workers, but in some of these groups. So we also have the Indigenous sex workers group. They're called Sacred. We've got a trans and non-binary two-spirited group. And we're starting a BIPOC sex workers group as well. We also have a men's program that meets for a drop-in once a week too, or I won't say men's, it's masculine identified sex workers. So
do you have a building then?
We sure do. We own a building.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. We own a building. It's a huge building. We got a big renovation a few years back that just, it was amazing. Really, now we're able to serve people in a way better way, because we had one shitty stove and one shitty fridge, and now we have two of everything.
That's amazing. So how is this funded?
Our executive director writes for grants. We have different grants that we get annually, or some are just like every couple of years. The Red Cross? Oh no, sorry. The United Way. We get a lot of money from the United Way. We get funding from Victoria Foundation, which is a local funder here. Just different like government grants that we'll get sometimes, and it's a little bit precarious. We're in the midst of looking into starting some kind of a social enterprise so that we can, rely on ourselves more to fund ourselves. So yeah.
Do you think that the fact that being a sex worker isn't criminalized there allows you more access to that than like in the United States? I know you guys are kind of under like a Nordic model, aren't you?
It is a Nordic model, and it's we might be immune from arrest and prosecution, but we're not immune from all other impacts of criminalization, like being stopped at the border and banned, and a child apprehension, funds being seized, and landlords evicting us. So even though we're technically immune from arrest and prosecution, there's a whole slew of other awful things. And then the people who are the most marginalized and vulnerable, they get hit the hardest, right? So it's a precarious place. We have a constitutional challenge in the works. So Pierce is part of a national alliance across Canada. We're called the Canadian Alliance for Sex Work Law Reform. It's a group.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a member group of 23 members that are sex work service agencies across the country from coast to coast. Some provide services directly, some provide or do more advocacy and stuff, but we cohese around law reform. And we have a constitutional challenge that we're waiting to be heard at the Supreme Court at the moment. It was we were taking the newest set of sex work laws. They're called the Protections of Communities and Exploited Persons Act, and they came about in 2014. But this was after we had won our human rights at the Supreme Court level in 2013. We had won, the right to life and liberty and free speech and all this, and the three sections of the criminal code at the time were thrown out as unconstitutional. But sadly, we had a conservative government that rewrote that section of the criminal code in a way that was, I think, more damaging than the original. So now we're starting the whole thing over again.
Oh, yeah.
It's frustrating, but the law isn't a tool necessarily set up to support sex workers, but we're trying to find the loopholes wherein to assert our human rights.
Marching in the rain.
You know it. Yeah. And yelling and losing our voices.
Yeah. That's all. It seems to me like what you're saying is kind of what we have here for like the same situation that we have here for online sex workers. Whereas like you can't get arrested for being like a cam model or a porn performer, but you will get your bank account taken away and landlords will push you out and you will lose custody of your kids if you have a ex who really wants to see that happen. So what do you do for them?
Yeah, what do I do? I've worn many hats there for over the years. Currently, I am the media and advocacy education coordinator. So I'm like a media point person, but also, around that constitutional challenge, for example, like really looking to demystify the legal jargon and deliver it to the community. So because we serve sex workers, all throughout the hierarchy. So we want to be sure that everyone's included and informed on the laws that impact their lives. And to do so in a way that, is accessible, right? So my job is to demystify that stuff. And I'm so grateful because the Canadian Alliance for Sex Work Law Reform has really done a lot of work in helping me understand how the set of laws conflicts with our right to life and liberty and security and freedom of speech and all of these other things. So then I'm able to deliver that to the community. And then I've just been we're working on like a human rights tribunal of somebody and working on helping someone get legal counsel as well, like kind of little things like that. I speak, do public speaking engagements at the university since when that's needed. And then other than that, I'm facilitating our peer health advocate training program, which is it's a training program that seeks to educate members of the community. And so peers, we serve sex workers, as I mentioned, but we also have expanded after COVID to connect with our overlapping communities. And what I mean is people who use substances, people who are unhoused or precariously housed, and our Indigenous street family. So, so knowing that our fight is very much overlapped, together we connect with the community to educate them as being peer support workers and harm reduction workers. So we do a class it's a 2-month class. We meet 2 times a week for 2 hours. And we do, we cover everything in like this 101 of harm reduction. So naloxone training, peer counseling skills, all sorts of stuff around Indigenous harm reduction and residential schools and uplifting Indigenous folks here, as well as, just other things about advocating for people as far as health or housing or whatever. So it's pretty awesome. We've got a class of 10 people.
So what do you think some of the biggest challenges are for you guys in providing the kind of services and resources that you want to provide?
What are the biggest? Well, it's probably money, but we're really lucky. Peers is a organization that takes concepts like decolonization really seriously, as well as like providing a living wage. So we get a raise once a year. It's just amazing for nonprofit work. We're treated so well.
Yeah.
The challenges, I don't know. We're killing it. No, there's, sometimes there's, it's hard. There's lateral violence amongst our community.
Yeah.
There's, or even sometimes if there's lateral stuff happening within staff, like that can be challenging because we're really trying to keep focused. And I think one of the main problems we've had since COVID is that everyone brings their dogs to work. And like it was started out as good, but then like it's just a bit of it can be quite mayhem there. So yeah, that's just
that's funny actually. Just same sort of problems that a lot of companies are having.
Yeah, the dog thing.
What have you gotten out of, I'm guessing, but actually I shouldn't guess. I should just ask you, were you doing sex work before you started working for peers? And
so I did a degree in gender studies, and I focused on the complementary relationship between sex work and feminism. I was, I'll say, sex work adjacent for a very long time. I was a receptionist at a brothel for like 15 years. I worked at a strip club. I stripped. And I'm in a burlesque troupe as well. I mean, it's not totally sex, but all these, it's the world I love. I've always believed in sex worker rights ever since I was young. It just didn't make sense to me that I could see how people look down on sex workers, and it confused me. So I made it my business to fight against that, and I'm just absolutely honored to stand up for this community. It's a noble profession, and it's a joy to stand alongside and behind such a resourceful, creative, generous, hilarious, resilient community.
I feel that too. Yeah, I really feel that. And it's interesting that you say that, because one of the big advocates for sex work in our community that took over the swap chapter here when I stepped down was also very aligned, like politically and ideologically, with sex workers, but was more sex work adjacent than they were an actual sex worker. And in the process of becoming so embedded in the community, also became a sex worker. And it's in, like, a lot of people end up in advocacy like because they're doing the work, and then some people end up doing the work because they're I'm telling you, so well acquainted with the community.
Fierce is a gateway drug, and you're totally right. Like it's definitely happened.
Yeah, it just seemed interesting to me that like you were more sex work adjacent for a while and then ended up coming into the community. And I've seen other people who've done that, are coming in as a worker, and I've seen other people who've made that transition as well.
Well, then you're absolutely better situated to serve the community once you have that experiential knowledge base, right? So. Yeah. And if you truly do believe that sex work is work, and if you really like, you grapple with these kind of philosophical questions, and then it's like, well, yeah, I believe in all that, so why wouldn't I do that? Like, yeah. It's like when people say like, oh, I believe that sex work is work and I support sex workers, but no, I don't want to go to a strip club, or no, I won't do it. And it's like, okay, well then, are you really okay with it?
Right.
So yeah, I'm calling your bluff there.
I mean, sex work isn't for everyone. Not everyone wants to.
Not everybody can.
Not everybody can do the work, but I do think that you are making a valid point.
Yeah. So back when I was working at the brothel and then also at the strip club, I started my own small business, which is like dancers, strippers for stags. And
for what? Oh, for like parties?
Bachelor parties and stuff. And through that I started that in 2008. It's called Ruby Entertainments, and because I'm Ruby, but we do everything. Like we do like girl on girl, like full on toy shows like that. I mean, that's the apex for sure. But we also have like, giant cake that we jump out of. That's like, it's this old prop that's been in the city for like 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. And we do like singing telegrams or topless serving and all these kind of things. So kind of a mild to wild situation. But again, you know, it's the stigma is real. Like whether it's even though we're not doing full service, oh gosh, there's so many things that happen sometimes, you know, like even with my male dancers, you know, one guy, he was, you know, somebody, well, he was dancing and they're not supposed to, of course, but somebody live feeded him his performance for a second. They caught it, but not before that some woman's husband saw it and was in the neighborhood, and he comes over and he's like running my dancer out of the house, and the guy's like scared for his life. So this isn't like, we're not fucking around here. Yeah, we're not fucking around.
How do you handle as like the owner of that business, like the liability of that? Is that scary?
Well, you know, I own the business, but because they're independent contractors and we're, you know, I'm very transparent about how this, you know, how this operates, like, and how the labor laws and stuff operate here. I work for them. I represent them. I work for them, and the money actually goes directly to them. So that's one thing. Like, and I'm really clear. But you know, I always back up my performers, and if you guys need to, you know, leave, or you're not feeling safe, like we're not fucking around. And we just really try to have a rapport with that client beforehand so that we know what we're going into. But sometimes you just can't, you know, at these parties, well, you might not know, but there's just always one fucker. The most awful thing is when that one bad guy, that one annoying guy ends up being like the stag or the bachelor himself, because it's really hard to like, so anyways, in that case, I'll just sit on his lap and just try to placate him for as long as possible. Being like, this is obviously the one guy I can tell because he's being a bit of a D. So, we just, lots of communication and, lots of support for one another.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you also do performance through your company? Or do you mostly manage
myself?
It?
Both. Yeah, no, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to say is from your background that I think is really interesting is that you have a like women and gender studies background. I also do, and I'm married to somebody who is a gender, sexuality, and women's studies professor.
Awesome.
And a lot of the people that I know within academia are also who are sex workers and are either out about being sex workers or are not out about being sex workers, depending on where they are in the tenure process, are also in, gender studies. And so I think it's really interesting. And I was curious what the climate is like up in Canada, because when I was doing that sort of work, there was a lot, especially within like feminism, a lot of resistance to sex work that made that work actually pretty difficult.
We're in a pretty liberal spot here. What's really cool is that, so it's not a huge place. I mean, I think we have like, I don't know, maybe 500,000 people here.
Okay.
And we're on an island, and that island is located between Vancouver and Seattle. So we're we're secluded, and we've got our own little hippie kind of place here. And there's certainly, like really open-minded folks, but I'm also in a burlesque troupe, and the burlesque, I remember when I first started in the burlesque troupe, well, the troupe, it's called the Cheesecake Burlesque Review. And we are like, we're the number one troupe in the world right now. I'm not just tooting my own horn. We compete at Vegas, like almost like we compete for best troupe every year, and we lost 4 times. But this year, the girls won. I wasn't performing that time, but I mean, it's an accumulative effort. So yeah, we all won, but we're current reigning troupe in the world. But we have the troupe has a relationship with peers. You're gonna see how this all it all just melds together here, because peers has a space that the troupe rehearses at, and so for 15 years, the troupe does an annual show that benefits peers.
Oh, that's amazing.
So when they first were interviewing me to be in the troupe, I was already like loving peers and loving sex workers and everything. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like this really works. Because like I could see that all the things that I love were in this one building. But at first my troop, and hopefully they don't mind me saying so, but I just remember them giving me a lot of slack at first, being like, I was too strippery. This is burlesque, not stripping. And there was like a divide back then, but that absolutely is not the case anymore. And it through our relationship with peers, but then also through the, I guess, evolution of like the relationship between burlesque and stripping and how that's really been cohesed, and you can really see like these aren't totally separate. Like this is more of that hierarchy, right? Like we do this, but we don't do that. Like so over the years, like that gap kind of closed. And so now that show that the Cheesecakes put on for peers every year, it absolutely has changed the climate towards sex workers in Victoria for the last 15 years. Because it's not just a fundraiser, and sometimes like the funds are better than others. Some years it depends. It doesn't look better. But what it's really doing is promoting that sex worker rights or human rights, and really informing like the public and the public who likes burlesque and who's likes creativity and like, you know, artistic communities, and really giving them an opportunity to like come inside our vision and to understand that, like, you know, sex work is labor, and no, rights not rescue, and blowjob is a job, all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, so what do you think? You know, I'm thinking of two things as I'm listening to you say this, and one of them is like how important having a building where you can bring people together can be. And I think that that's actually like prohibitive for a lot of groups because it's expensive, and you know, there's all kinds of reasons for that, but it's so amazing what you could do when you have that. And the other thing I'm like thinking about is if you could talk a little bit about like what you think has changed within burlesque that's allowed for a greater connection between like the burlesque community and the sex work community.
I think it's definitely becoming more like the intersectional analysis is so important, and it's really brought up a lot of more inclusivity, and really recognizing, you know, privileges for certain performers, and that burlesque it is largely on one hand it's a very privileged art form because you don't get paid unless you're really successful, and you need money to do it because your costumes, you know. But on the other hand,
so elaborate,
But on the other hand, like burlesque is the original working class art form, and the word burlesque it means to make fun of, and it was about, you know, poking fun at the upper classes and a kind of vaudevillian and stuff like that. So it's absolutely is a space for satire and social comments, you know, and like that's what it should be. It should be a place where we push back against beauty standards and expectations and all of that. And I think that there's just been a lot of conversations and communications, and that people have been, I don't know the better way to say, like squeaky wheels, like calling out the movement. It's very much so like, it's the same with the feminist movement, with the sex worker rights movement, and with burlesque, is that, you know, white folks have had a stronghold on these, and they kind of, and I'll say I'm white, like we, you know, it's just conveniently don't see our privilege in that, you know, and that oftentimes the people who are left out are people of color or people who have like different experiences. So those conversations are really important, and they're absolutely happening. Like it's a I don't know, it's a mini revolution, but it's tough because I think that some folks don't want to hear it, and some folks are defensive, and we got the white fragility and all that. But it's absolutely worth listening, and, you know, calling in and calling out, and kind of being present and moving through those uncomfortable spaces, in knowing that it's the right thing to do, and we need to, like, you know, put the short people at the front.
When We're Not Hustling is powered by Black Venom Digital. Black Venom Digital is a collaboration between myself and industry veteran Mr. Black Venom. Black Venom Digital aims to provide adult professionals and entrepreneurs with professional grade web design, graphic design, and branding services that will inspire growth and success. At Black Venom Digital, we empower companions, creators, and entertainers with professional web design and branding. If you're looking for a new website or any other branding services and you work in the adult industry, please find out more at blackvenomdigital.com. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to your podcast. Doing so will help others find us. And if you're a sex worker who wants to come on the show and talk about your life outside of work, we would love to have you. Please send us an email with more information to nothustlingpod@proton.me.
Yeah, I mean, what would you suggest to organizations who are working through those kind of growing pains? Because that seems to be a common issue, here as in like in the United States with sex worker rights organizations or any of these organizations, because they have been run for a long time by white folks, and the the issues that white folks face aren't necessarily the ones that are like the most pressing or the most important.
Exactly.
So I've seen a lot of infighting about whose voices are important and
Yeah.
whose are less important. And what do you think the best ways to go about platforming or pushing forward the voices that we should be listening to? And how do you work through things like changes in leadership and
Yeah,
white fragility?
it can't be like, it's not an overnight change. It's taken, this has been deeply embedded. So it's but from where I stand, like I can see, there's been times when I'm learning, and these days I'm more likely to step aside, and kind of suggest and also offer support, so that you're not just dropping stuff in the laps of people who are marginalized or racialized, or whatever. We're like, okay, well, now it's your turn to fix this mess.
Right.
But having people in leadership positions, working towards mentorship, although like mentorship, people don't necessarily need mentorship, but if they wanted it, and really doing what you can to support people. And sometimes that just means like helping people with childcare and food and stuff. Like, how can we better put the most important impacted voices at the front? It's like a family. You got to support your people, and that might mean stepping aside and saying like, this is a great contract. I would love this contract. I'm not going to take this contract. I'm gonna kind of outsource and look in the community and be like, okay, who might I support here? Who might not otherwise have the opportunity? So it is, and as it continues, it picks up the pace, and it snowballs, right? So it might not be an overnight like success story, but the more people in positions of power, the more people who are being seen at the organization in leadership roles, then it's going to attract more people who see themselves reflected, and then we can continue, because like our organization, it's called Peers because it's peer based, and so it's absolutely about the experiential voice. So we're always looking to bring more folks in who are impacted the most, and then to professionally develop and do the things that help us follow their lead, right? Yeah.
I think one of the important things that you said is like offering support, because often I feel like part of the issue in all of these conversations are that the people who have time and resources to take on some of the projects, or to even be spokespeople for them, or to go on podcast interviews and to do all these things, are people who already have a relative degree of privilege. So what are the barriers to like having the time and space within your life to be able to do that? And I think, childcare
Yes.
and meals and like
Yeah.
those things are often like huge barriers for folks. So yeah, providing things like childcare and even like stipends and things like
Oh,
that
yeah.
seem really important.
We're all about the stipends. We are a lot of our funding. It's just a way of like, obviously we do all sorts of workshops in the community and all sorts of educational programs. But the idea is that we're putting the money back into the community because we offer everybody an honorarium for their time. Knowing that that's like one of the key points of sex work is that we get paid for our time. So no matter what program, whether it's a dinner group or the peer health advocate training program or a workshop or Red Umbrella Day, we're paying people to take part and recognizing that helps them be more of the community. The other thing I wanted to say though is rides, like helping facilitate people getting places by driving them, like simple stuff. Again, just like, what would you do for your family, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think that you've gotten, like, how has the advocacy work that you've done through peers, how has that shaped you?
Oh, I'm so proud. Like I said, it's an honor to stand beside and behind this community. The advocacy work, like, with the Canadian Alliance for Sex Work Law Reform and the kind of tedious work they did a couple years back in informing representatives of each member group. So Peers is one of those member groups. There's 23 of them across the country. So informing us through these cross-country meetings about which sections of the criminal code are conflicting with which sections of the Charter of Rights, and putting that in, like, kind of grappling with that and putting that in plainer language, like, and now I'm able to kind of in turn go and do that for the community. That's my biggest accomplishment. I think I feel really good about really explaining the law to people, and other things, like, sometimes people just assume, and if you've grown up, in poverty, or like I wasn't set to do a university degree. I think I'm still the only person in my family who did one, and I was originally going to do social work, but I love feminism. And I just remember everyone being like, oh, what are you going to do with that? Like, you can't, how are you going to, I'm like, I did everything with it. Everything. Yeah. It's informed everything. So fuck you. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. You've built your whole world around that. That's absolutely really beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you have? What are your goals next for the organization? And for you?
Well, so I work under an executive director, and we have a whole team. We've got like program managers and facilitators, coordinators. We have like an amazing team of folks. And then we work together. I mean, there's different things in the background that we're kind of, poking around, that I don't know that I'm privy to say, but like I had mentioned, we're looking into social enterprise, so we can fund our programs ourselves. And we've always had these lofty ideas, like we should have a strip club. There's no more strip clubs here. We should have a strip club. We should have like a charity shop, like coffee shop. All these. So we're looking into the research around feasibility so that we can really, I think laundromat was another one. We really want to nail something down, even though because everything takes so long. Like we've been batting around these ideas for the last year, and now we're just looking at feasibility. So that's probably something that's like, it's really exciting because it'll take a while to get off the ground, but once it does, then we're able to, we don't have to answer to anybody about how we spend our money. Right.
I have to say that if I had to go to a laundromat and I knew that it was possible to go to a laundromat and hang out with sex workers while I did my laundry, I would go there.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than anywhere else, and a coffee shop too, for that matter.
Yeah. Well, what'd be great with the coffee shop, in the past, like we don't have this contract anymore, but for a few years, I did also facilitate a small business training program. And that was a really intensive program that lasted like, I don't know, a few months, but it was really dense. The small business training program was about, supporting people in starting their own small businesses or supporting people in, whatever tools and whatever resources they wanted to like further legitimize their sex work business. So we would apply all the principles of a small business to sex work, and it was really enlightening. But still, if we had a charity shop, we could have like a coffee shop in there. We can get people work experience who might want to be part of some exit programs, or maybe just have something on the side. We can same with the shop. So there's like, it would be such a benefit to our community to do something like that, because it would it's kind of like that teaching a man to fish thing, Yeah. So
also just having like and I'm saying this in like air quotes, but like a legitimate job for a resume, to be like, what have I been doing? I've been working at a coffee shop.
That's right. You know what?
Or doing, something else that, because that's, I think for a lot of sex workers, if they no longer want to do sex work, that's the really hard thing, is like, how do you demonstrate a work history when you're not allowed to talk about the very intense work that you've been doing?
Yeah. And one of the first exercises we used to do in the small business training program was we would like whiteboard, kind of brainstorm all of the skills involved with sex work.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, I don't have to tell you, like the communication skills, the like technical skills, the social skills, like it goes thinking on the
marketing, bookkeeping, social media management,
conflict resolution,
branding, all those things,
boundaries,
so many things.
all of this stuff, consent, all of that stuff. So once we would have that huge list of all the things that make up our experience, so that you can then pick and choose, like, okay, I can maybe I'm going to fib a little bit about what I've been doing, but these are absolutely the skills that I've been using, right? And I'm not being dishonest about that. The most beautiful thing about that exercise was how you could see, and like I've got goosebumps thinking about it, you could see people's like posture change, and people just become more proud, and you could see that people are looking at this list of like all of the amazing skills you've been cultivating in sex work, and like how amazing you are. You could just see it, like you could just see it impacting people. So that was really cool.
That is really cool. So I heard that you also do like spoken word poetry, and that you may have something for us. Is that can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, like I said, I believe in this community, and I've been in love with it for many years, and I really wanted a poem to share, whether it be like at like Red Umbrella Day or on stage for the cheesecake shows, but I wanted a piece that would kind of put the experience of sex workers in really plain language for folks who might not have experienced themselves. So I wrote a piece, and it's called Bimbo.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, I would love to hear you perform it.
Okay. Who you calling a bimbo? Slut, hooker, whore, prostitute, because I'm working in my birthday suit or living a life of ill repute. What is it you can't compute? For some of us it is prostitute or destitute. But you're calling me a whore because there's condoms in my top drawer, or I'm stripping on the dance floor? You see, there's just so much that you ignore. There's ways of being and accounted for, and I want to ask you, how do you make it to the grocery store? And how much do you love what you do to make ends meet or be at peace when you fall asleep? You don't really know, though, what it's like. Imagine working in a legal limbo where your customers are made criminal, and every day we survive as a miracle because somehow violence is forgivable? No, 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 no. Dear bimbos, I believe we are resourceful. There's no need to be remorseful. We're modern day heroes, working red light windows and stuffing $100 bills in our fishnet pantyhose on a good day. And every other day, in so many ways, we are shamelessly queering and fearlessly steering our lives for our own damn selves from deep within the patriarchy. And it's not fucking easy. more so for my kin with black or brown skin, because I've never been in the position you're in, where intersections begin with systemic racism. And for my friends who use substances, there are far less tolerances. And to my sisters on the street, my experience is elite because police harassment takes a back seat when the work is considered discreet. Multiple identities put you further from realities of basic human dignities like free speech, life, and liberties. So no, I can't speak for all bodies. But to the rest of you, non-bimbos, perhaps you've seen the bumper sticker. It reads, "Someone I love is a sex worker." Well, all the girls I love are pros, and I'm a proud bimbo. Smarter than you think we'd be. Together we be simultaneously devising and disguising, surmising and hypnotizing, but most importantly, normalizing bodies, sex, touch, and intimacy. It's a truly beautiful thing. We are a secret army of working class asses infiltrating the masses. We are the twerking classes. Professional bimbos making earnings in uncertain legal limbos because when it's illegal to buy, well, it means we must hide, and the laws that protect us, they actually subject us to the shadowy dark places that predators stalk us. So believe when I say we are bimbos making earnings in uncertain legal limbos, but more. We are skanks, fattening piggy banks, investing with many gracious thanks to society's spank banks. Sluts, hookers, whores, and prostitutes, each fighting and finding our own truths in this humble and honest life pursuit, just like each and every one of you. Bimbo, what you've heard of me is true. I've been in more laps than a napkin, but I'm ruthlessly counting the paper I'm stacking because it enables me, you see, to take care of me, to attend a rally, to write poetry, to speak out on the fight for sex workers' human rights and cultivate compassion and live out my life with activism and passion. Sex worker rights are human rights. Thank you.
I love that.
Yes, me too. I love my people.
Have you performed it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. And I also heard that you're doing a peep show. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Funny you asked. Well, so I have a business, Ruby Entertainments, and I had this fantasy of building a peep show after spending time in Amsterdam at the Sex Palace, which is like a peep show where you go in and there's a single rotating stage and then these little booths all around it where the window comes up and you can see what's happening. So I thought that was really exciting because after working in strip clubs for so many years, it was exciting because, the dancer could be dancing, but doesn't have to interact with the clients, which I loved. But I also I thought of it as a really awesome opportunity to queer stripping and to kind of, again, like almost like burlesque it, to push back on standards of beauty and sexuality in this. So the idea behind, so I wanted to get an arts grant to build it. I wasn't eligible, but in the end I got a COVID grant and I built a mobile peep show. So it's Ruby's pop-up peep show and it's the world's first traveling peep show.
You got a COVID grant for that?
Yeah, small business.
That's so amazing.
Small business grant. I got $15,000 from a provincial government, and I spent half on the trailer. So it's a 6x12 utility trailer that we then have like an original design and aluminum wrap on it. So it's got this, it looks like a sexy circus caravan basically, and it has like. And then you open the back doors and there's a false wall there. So it's essentially a box. You peek through keyholes like a real peeping Tom.
Ooh,
and
nice.
And inside the box is performers of like just, really promoting diversity and body, age, ability, gender, racialization, all of that, really promoting all bodies are good bodies and passion, empowerment and play and just like a shamelessness. And so it's also about like promoting sex worker rights. And it's about kind of taking that message to the street and it hasn't been as, easy as I thought it would be.
Why not? Like, I mean, what is it that's been harder than you anticipated?
People are, the people are shy but curious. So people are nervous when I'm, sometimes like we'll do like kind of like Burning Man type festivals, and that goes well. There's no problem. Or Pride, when we do Pride, no problems. But sometimes like the idea as well is to kind of like just be on the street, like outside of a nightclub or whatever, and just being like, step right up. Like, did you ever see a traveling peep show? Well, here it is. And just kind of promoting that shamelessness and body positivity and sexuality, and promoting all of that as alongside promoting the people who provide those. So promoting sex rights. And we just do it. We do it by donation. We don't want it to be, we want it to be accessible, but even though I'm like, it's a suggested donation of $10, like this is not a lot of money. And people are like, no, thank you. And it's like, it took me 5 years to do this. Like, come on. So we're breaking ground. And what we also do is it's more of a nonprofit, really, because it actually cost me way too much money the first year, but this year I was like, okay, I can't keep paying for this. So we don't go out as much as we might have, because I was guaranteeing people like a certain wage that I couldn't have. So I was just having to pay it out of my pocket. But now we're just really mindful. But we aim to promote sex worker rights and peers by saving a portion of the peep money and donating it to different groups. So that it's all kind of part and parcel. So
nice.
Yeah, Ruby's pop-up.
So you have a lot going on.
Yes. I have a lot of capacity.
Every sex worker I know has a lot going on.
Right? I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, I like to end every interview with 3 questions. So the first one is, what are you reading? Are you reading anything?
I'm reading. So through my position at Peers, I was able to go to the 30th anniversary of the Global Alliance Against Trafficking Women conference, GAATW. So that was a conference in Bangkok in October.
Oh, November. I think were the people from the New Moon Network there?
I don't know, but I've heard of New Moon, and I'm not sure. I don't think there was. It seemed like there was nobody from the States there at all.
Oh, okay, all right. I think because I thought they were at something like that, but it might have been something different.
But there is like people who are, there's organizations that are part of the alliance, the Global Alliance Against Trafficking Women, that are from the States, but no one was present at the conference. But there was 160 nations represented and some nations had multiple people. So it was a huge thing. It was 5 days of, all sorts of panels and discussions from all regions all around about trafficking. The beautiful thing about the Global Alliance Against Trafficking Women is that in order to be part of the alliance and one of those 160 reps, you have to sign off and agree that sex work is work, and that's not conflated with sex work and trafficking. And then we can really start having the real conversations, not just around sex trafficking, but around all the trafficking that's going on and how serious and severe it is. So what I'm reading is the Anti-Trafficking Review. It's a journal, an academic journal, peer-reviewed, that the Global Alliance Against Trafficking Women helps put out. So on the back it says the Anti-Trafficking Review promotes human rights-based approach to anti-trafficking and explores trafficking in its broader context, including gender analysis and intersections with labor and migrant rights. It offers an outlet and space for dialogue between academics, practitioners, trafficked persons, and advocates seeking to communicate new ideas and findings to those working for and with trafficked persons. And this issue is called Following the Money. And I've just started it, but it's basically about how trafficking money is misused. And people who have been trafficked aren't being protected, aren't being
Right.
supported,
Mhm.
aren't being believed, and the money is just it's being so poorly spent, and we're leaving people behind.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm meaning.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you listening to? Either music or podcast or audiobooks?
Yeah, I love Caitlin Bailey's Old Pros
Oh, yeah.
podcast. Yeah, I really enjoy that. And then one that's more local, it's called Stripped by Sia, SIA.
Oh, yeah, I know her, and I've been
Yeah.
on her show a couple times.
Yes. So there was a recent podcast that she did where she interviewed Kelly and Angela from Swan, Vancouver. Swan, Vancouver supports Asian migrant workers, and they are extremely knowledgeable and do amazing work. So that podcast, I think I've listened to it like almost 3 times now because it's just it's mind blowing. So definitely check
that out.
Yeah, the Swan podcast of Sia. Yeah.
Yeah. And what are you excited about?
Excited about? I don't know. It's tough because we've got possibly a really conservative government coming in next year. And I'm not excited about that, but I really want to do what I can to mobilize my community and inform them. So kind of try to make the best out of it and really to really educate the community and try to get people out there voting. I mean, it's likely that it's not going to make the biggest difference. And the truth is that, we've been historically ignored and cast aside. So it's not like things are totally changing, but I do think knowledge is power. And even though it's like, will the master's tools dismantle the master's house?
Right.
Maybe not, but I still want our people to be able to conceive of the tools and that they built the house and really to demystify everything around things like laws and the things that have and criminalization and stigma and the things that really impact our lives and just have that knowledge spread out peer to peer.
Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you. Where can people find you and the work you're doing?
I'm on Instagram. It's Ruby Peep Show.
All one word? Ruby Peep Show?
Ruby Peep Show, all one word. And then Piers' Instagram is, I believe it's Piers_Victoria, although our website is safersexwork.ca.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, I'm so grateful to have this opportunity, and thank you very much. Take good care.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of When We're Not Hustling. I'm your host, Jessie Sage. You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at sapiotextual or visit my website at jessiesage.com. You can follow the show on all socials at Not Hustling Pod and visit our website for more information at nothustling.com. The show was produced by Emily Foster. The music is by Benjamin J. Benamati. Signing off. Have a great week.